The first battle for the bag is the straight to stable mid-range. I'm gonna try to keep these quick, give you guys a rundown of the plastic, the feel, the distance potential, throw it on a few different angles, and then play 5 holes battling these discs against each other. We're gonna do this for most of the discs in the bag, so make sure you comment and tell me which disc you think should battle for its spot in the bag next. I'm pretty stoked for some of them, like the Roman. Roman versus Tesla is gonna be a banger. Let's start with the Chariot versus the Glow Hex. So infinite discs versus Axiom. Honestly, wing shape, they're pretty similar. I think feel is where they're a bit different. The rim of the Chariot is a little bit thinner and sharper on the bottom. And the Hex kind of has like a really smooth and a little bit shallower grip. Plastic wise, I really like Axiom's Glow plastic, although I will say it does misrelease a bit once it gets worn in for me. Gets a little slick, but Infinite's Metal Flake C, this is a Metal Flake C Glow, probably my favorite plastic that Infinite has. Maybe my favorite plastic on the market. It's just gummy enough that it kind of has some give to it, starry, and holds up really well in my experience. So, we're gonna throw these on multiple angles, hyzer, flat, and anhyzer. Might even toss a forehand in there, and I'm gonna record the distances and tell you how they feel, how they fly. We got close. That's perfect. Yeah. Super solid. We're gonna throw basically a straight line, which for me is gonna be about 10 degrees of hyzer. I'm gonna flip it up, have it push straight for as long as possible before a baby fade at the end of the flight. So perfect line. I think that's exactly what I want from a straight to stable mid-range. So definitely more flip, not even close. I mean, super solid shot, but not the line we were looking for. We're gonna try to throw that line again and see if that was just an error. Keep flipping. I mean, that was close. Yeah, it's just flippier. Oh. So we'll go a little high, just get it to tip over just a little bit. Here we go. I mean, that's just dead straight. Yeah, I feel like that line with the Hex is gonna tip over immediately. Yeah, tipping over way faster. They probably went out a similar distance, but you could see the Hex held the ante much better. It's gonna be more of a neutral mid-range. That Glow Hex is quite a bit more stable than a normal Neutron Hex in my experience. I know Gavin Rathbun bags them, so I think he has really good taste in discs, to be honest. All right, 344 foot pushing hyzer. Yep, keep pushing. Oh shit, go in the basket. Oh! I put too much hyzer on it. Keep flipping. Oh my God. Pretty good shots from both of them. They held up a little better than I thought they would. Probably not quite as much wind out there as there usually is. Kind of keeping them right, but super solid. They have great integrity on hyzers. 354 feet. Actually, I think it's been measured, range found at 374. Come on, come back just a little. Not as much integrity at the end of the flight. Yep, flip. Yes, dude. Oh, baby. 309, dead straight through a gap. Needs to just stay straight. Not fade out, not turn too much. Just hold the line straight and just go about 300 feet. I will say, I feel like the hex locks into my hand better, right? And that's not to say it's a good thing. I feel like I have a higher percentage chance of yanking the hex over a little bit because it's like it stays in my hand a little longer than it feels like it should. Where the Chariot, maybe I get a tiny bit less power, but it kind of releases where I want it to, not like where it wants to. So it's not all about distance for this slot. It's more about what I feel I can control the best. And this hole is going to be a great indicator of that. Dead straight, mid-range, doesn't have to be too hard. Yep, just flip up a little bit. Okay, super solid. Not the greatest, not a birdie. Well, I think that exact same line with this might flip more and get us there. Yeah, dude. Come on. Oh! All right, should be a 10-footer. I wanted to say the point of these battles isn't just to see who I score better with. I feel like 5 holes isn't a big enough sample size to definitively like, oh, this one's a better disc, or this one, I throw this disc better, especially when I have more experience with one than the other. 315, glow hex, straight up the middle. Gonna have to put some hyzer on it. Come on. Get by. Oh, it bounced off the branch. It sparked. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Skip up, baby. Oh, that's money. So on hyzer, they fly pretty similarly. This one, the hex flips up maybe a tiny bit more and the Chariot a tiny bit less, but they go similar distance and they both hold hyzer pretty well for like a, 25 to 30 degree hyzer where you just want to end left, super safe. Flat, which my flat is around 10 degrees of hyzer. I expect a little bit of flip, especially from a 5-speed. To flip up to dead straight, go straight almost the entire flight, and maybe a hint of fade at the end. What actually happened with these two discs is the Chariot had much more integrity at high power. So it went a little less distance throughout all the angles, but it held the line I started it on a little better throughout all the angles. So on 10 degrees of hyzer, this flipped 10 degrees up to flat and just rode straight for 360 feet. And this one flipped up and over, all the way over, drifted right for quite a long time, and ended like 400 plus feet. So definitely a more neutral disc, the Glow Hex. This is one of the more stable runs and plastics of hex, and it's what I usually bag for my straight mid-range slot. But I found after throwing the Chariot for a while, 2 weeks, this seemed a little more flippy. And on anhyzer, they flew very similarly. The Chariot is not so overstable that it's going to pull out of anhyzer quickly. But it's just a little more stable in that neutral middle range where it's barely tipping over to turn or it's barely coming off of hyzer. Right in this like middle 20 degrees, the Chariot seems to have a lot less left to right movement, even at high power. Now, one thing could have conflated those results is I found that the hex feels like it locked into my grip harder. And like, that's not a super good thing in my opinion. So when I throw this, I feel like I get a very loud audible snap and I have a higher tendency to yank this disc over a little bit. It just doesn't feel like it's coming out of my hand super clean, more like it's staying in a little longer than it should. Where I did not have that issue with the Chariot, which resulted in a little lower distances. But also I felt like I could hit my lines a little more easily at high power with it. So I played a bunch of holes. I'd say the max range for these discs, the hex, I mean, it maxes out above 400, but it's really an S flight, like drifty flight to get it there. I'd say for a solid, like flip up to flat, go straight and kind of end line, it's probably right around the Chariot, which is like 360 to 380 is a nice safe distance. You can push them out to 400 with like a full power rip, which obviously comes with the risk of misreleasing. I feel like the Chariot is a little more consistent. I feel like it comes out of my hand a little cleaner, which might result in a little less distance, but I'm not throwing a mid-range to get distance anyways. So when it comes to hitting my line and being confident that I can release this on 10 degrees of hyzer and it's not gonna flip over, I feel like the Chariot won the day. Although I'm probably a little better at throwing the hex, I just felt like I trusted the Chariot more. So in this battle, I think this will be the first disc that kicks an MVP made disc out of my bag. I think the Infinite Disc Chariot is gonna go in the bag at least for the off season and serve in that straight to stable mid-range category. Really love it in this plastic. I know that Innova and that Infinite is having a Black Friday sale, so I probably shouldn't say that because I'm not sponsored by Infinite, but they're having a Black Friday sale. I might pick up 1 or 2 more of these and run this for the off season and see if this can really stay as my straight mid-range. I am going to lose a bit of distance potential, but I threw a 375-foot hole today and was in C1 with this. So definitely what I want from my mid-range, around that 360 to 380 mark. Yeah, really like this disc, and if you haven't tried one, maybe you should. The first disc staying in the bag is the Infinite Disc Chariot. Thanks for watching. Peace.